I'll do. I've got a story here, which I've just found. I think it's quite important, especially with I suppose, the model I like to use for this channel. In regards, it is a free speech story, and it's to do with a singer who has been arrested for basically talking about trans people being extremists. Now, obviously, I like to speak freely about anything I want, and I think the importance of free speech is, in order to be able to think, you must be able to speak, and if you can't speak your mind, it prevents people from being able to even think and formulate their own ideas. Yeah, that's my opinion. Anyway, I'll link the story below. Um, I'll please visit the site. Obviously, I'm not paid or sponsored or anything by these sites. It's just that they have advertisers on them, so it helps them with their revenue. We're using their articles for what we're doing now, so it's just a little bit of courtesy to them, to the sites. So as I say, I'll put the link down below. Please visit the site and read it for yourself as well. To make your own mind up, because that's also very important. Don't just listen to what people on YouTube say and get your ideas from that. You've got to form your own. You decide for yourself. We're all adults. Again, which is also another important part of free speech, is being able to decide. And if you can't speak freely about things, how can you even formulate an idea properly and coherently in your own mind? So, police arrest British singer, 36, and quiz her over comments she made on GB News about being threatened by trans rights extremists weeks after she was cancelled by the music industry. Well, this just sounds like a stitch up. And as I like to say, this isn't hypocrisy, this is hierarchy. And clearly, I believe she's heterosexual, white female, she is lower on the oppression totem pole than a trans person, which is why I believe she's been arrested, because it's just it's the hierarchy of the nature of the beast. So she, once upon a time, where women's rights advocates were the pinnacle of the hierarchy, unfortunately, they're now surplus to requirements and have been kicked down the totem pole. Again, this is another thing that I do talk about as well, is the left have a friend-enemy distinction, and because of the route they've gone down with trans rights advocacy, feminism is now no longer seen as a friend and has been changed to the enemy on the distinction. And they'll do this very flippantly. If say, the sort of people who will criticise this woman for what she's saying, if I was to get into a debate with them on many things, they would automatically side with her over me, simply because in that argument, the friend-enemy distinction would change to me being obviously a white male. So let's crack on. A female singer was arrested by police and quizzed over comments she made on GB News about trans rights extremists weeks after she was cancelled by the music industry for her gender-critical views. Louise Distress, 30... Now, I don't know who this person is, by the way. I've never heard of her music. I have sent her a comment before on Twitter when I first heard about her losing her job. I can't even remember what I said. It was something about the music industry being full of degenerates. You only need to look at history books as some words to those effects, which is true. When you go back to like ancient Greece and stuff, even then, the acting guilds and that were all known for being absolute degenerates. And or as the famous line in 300 says, "Boy loving thespians." Louise Distress, 36, revealed on social media she was arrested on Saturday, interviewed under caution, and released without charge after 5 hours in custody. Officers told her no action will be taken against her as she hadn't committed any crime. So why have they arrested? She hasn't committed a crime. Why have they arrested her and even charged her? And interviewed her under caution. They know that she hasn't committed a crime, and this has been a bullying tactic, in my opinion. And this is what the police have been doing. They're losing control of the country, and rather than dealing with things like we're seeing with these Palestine protesters, where they're wearing terrorism outfits and desecrating war memorials, etc., instead of dealing with things like that, because they're scared of the backlash from certain sectors of society, and they're very, very scared of inciting basically a civil war in the country. It could potentially erupt, and they know it. They absolutely know that. They'd rather go after a woman like this so it looks good on the spreadsheets. So they at least give the appearance of doing something. We're going back to what's happened in many, many empires throughout history where you had, if you look at like the Roman Empire or the Mongol Empire, who had multiple groups of people living within them, you ended up, and this would even be in individual cities, where the groups of people would basically police themselves. So you would have a king of the Jews, a king of the Christians, a king of the Muslims, a king of the blacks, a king of the browns, a king of this group, a king of that group. And those people would police their own people within the society. And you'd obviously have, like, say, your Roman governor who was in charge of the state, but he wouldn't get involved in day-to-day policing of individual groups. What would happen is if, I don't know, a Jewish person stole something from a Jewish store, the person who was in charge, the head of the Jewish community, would deal with the punishments of those people. But if a Jewish person or a Christian person killed the other or attacked one or the other, that person would be taken if found doing it. So say it was a Christian person attacking and killing Jewish people, the Jewish community would grab that Christian and drag him to the head of the Christian section and say, you'd better deal with this person now, because otherwise we're going to deal with it and you don't want us dealing with it. It's kind of like prison rules, really. I mean, that's actually a great analogy for it. If you want to see a microcosm of what's happening to our society, look at how fractured prison communities are, and they do a very similar thing. When somebody upsets I don't know, let's say you have the whites and the gypsies, and a white person upsets the gypsies. I don't know, he just does something stupid like drops his guts in front of them, and they find particular offence at that. The heads of the white gang will give that guy a good kick in himself. One, because they don't want a gang war, which is bad for everybody, and two, they won't want, say, the gypsies, or, I mean, I picked gypsies, but it could be any group, it could be Muslims or blacks or whatever in prison, any other prison gang. If they deal with that white person, they'll probably kill him. So the whites would rather, and this goes for the other gangs as well, they would rather deal with their own person and give him a damn good shoeing, because at least then he's going to walk away from that shoeing. That's the end of it. Nobody gets, it's not like a gang war, nobody gets killed. And this is what we're starting to see now happening, where we're getting the police only dealing with what they see as the actual British people, and the people who live here but aren't really British. And I'm not saying that as to be racist or anything. It's just an observation that I'm making with the actions and the way they treat. They're just seen as a community with it, a separate civilization living within our borders, who are allowed to behave how they want and get away almost with, well, they have actually gotten away with murder until very recently, like we saw with the grooming gangs and things like that. They got away with horrific crimes, and those crimes were covered up by the police. Again, they say with that. I mean, I'm going right off topic here on a bit right bloody ramble. But even with that, they say, oh, we didn't want to appear racist. But I think a lot of that was to do with they didn't want an uprising of predominantly white communities and what could potentially be an English equivalent of the IRA happening. But that's where we're headed. A lot of revolutions and things throughout history aren't from the working class either. It's generally from the middle class who cause revolutions to happen, and the landowners. And what we're starting to see now is middle class white people being persecuted by the state, like this woman here. And we're going to start seeing a lot of feminists and people who up until recently were flavour of the month, and they were on the like the left wing activists. They're going to start getting persecuted now because they're going to die on their principles, and I don't necessarily disagree with them for that. But anyway, let's get back to the free speech. The singer-songwriter has recently gone public to reveal she's been cancelled by music industry bosses for denying that trans women are women, which is true. Miss Distress, who lives in Wakefield, West Yorkshire, said she was washing her hair in the shower when police came unannounced to arrest her. But she hasn't committed a crime, and they know that she hasn't committed a crime, and this is an intimidatory tactic. So this is just absolutely obscene. I was naked except for a towel and started flipping shampoo in my hair, she commented. She was forced to endure the indignity of getting dressed in front of a police officer with a body cam like a terrorist. Well, I think she's got a court case there. Once in the custody of West Yorkshire Police, she was photographed and had DNA swabs and fingerprints. You see, this is again is a form of intimidation and bullying tactics. They know she hasn't committed a crime, and as such, they shouldn't be taking them fingerprints or DNA swabs, and she should take them to court to get them to remove that from their databases. Once in custody of West Yorkshire Police, she was photographed and had DNA. Oh, I already read that. Describing her ordeal as an absolute bleep farce. I'm going to assume that's the F word. I'm not going to say it on YouTube. She revealed that she planned to take legal action. There we go. Take legal action as a result of her arrest ordeal. You know what? And I hope she absolutely wins. I hope she drags them through the mud, and I hope she causes an absolute S show with this. And I genuinely hope we start seeing police officers getting sacked for gross misconduct and possibly facing criminal charges themselves for this, because that is just bullying and intimidatory tactics. Really, that's a form of state terrorism what they've done, in my opinion. When asked for a comment, a West Yorkshire Police spokeswoman said, in accordance with College of Policing guidelines, we neither confirm nor deny if names are put to us in relation to an arrest. In her post on X, which has more than 400,000 views, Miss Distrust claimed she had been false reported to police and then questioned about her comments on GB News last month in an interview with presenter Andrew Doyle. Now, you see, this type of reporting and this type of dogpiling, I think, should be classed as a type of terrorism as well, because what you've got here is people online trying to intimidate this woman into silence, and not just her, but other detractors in general public, or even minor commenters like myself. You know, they're wanting people to see this and go, oh, I'm not going to do that. Unfortunately, I'm too autistic and stubborn to do that. And even if I go to court, I'll tell the judge myself, I'm not shutting my mouth. I've had enough of it now. Because I don't want my kids growing up in a society that I'm disgusted by the way it's going. At least I can say, hand on my heart, I've tried to do something. She said police also questioned her about similar comments made in a speech at a Let Women Speak event in Leeds last month. Speaking on GB News, she said, everything in my life starts with me being a woman and being an adult human female, right? So I stated this radical biological fact in an interview in May this year, and since then the music industry has just shut its doors on me. She's done nothing wrong. She's been persecuted for being a woman and standing up for her rights as a woman. That's what it is. What we've got here is a bunch of men who are trying to bully a woman into silence. If that's not the definition of misogyny and patriarchy, I don't know what actually is. It's probably not patriarchy, because patriarchy, actually, I'm a bit of a traditionalist with that. I think words matter, and the meaning of words matter. Patriarchy is a society which is actually solely run by men, and only men can be in positions of influence, and that isn't true in our society. But this is definitely misogyny. The platform that championed me have now denounced me as a Nazi and as a transphobe. I'm being threatened by trans rights extremists. One of them tracked down my address and turned up at my home. That is shocking. That is intimidatory, and that is stalking, and that is the person who should be getting arrested and going to court. I had to go to court and get an injunction. There is an ongoing police investigation. Right, there we go. So that probably is going to end up happening. She said an appeal to her booking agency, Midnight Mango, for security at her gigs fell on deaf ears, and she was told our position as a company is clear. Trans women are women, and if you continue to publicly deny that trans women are women, your position will have a detrimental effect on your musical career. So they're cowards, basically. I think anybody should boycott Midnight Mango. And in a polite, civilised and legal manner, maybe contact them via public networks to let them know that you don't agree with the position that they've taken. Do not harass them, do not threaten them, do not use any sort of strong language. Be polite, civil, but let them know. Boycotts do work. Let's carry on down. Miss Distrust said she was fired by the agency after her material was also taken off music sites, Big Cartel and Bandcamp, because she expressed opinions deemed unacceptable. She said, I feel what's left of the industry is now being kicked to death by these intolerant activists who are shutting down and threatening anybody who dares to disagree with them or who won't bow down to these insane demands of ideological compliance. It's absolutely true. And unfortunately, people like me, very, very traditional and conservative people, years ago were saying this about all this trans stuff. I'm not accusing Miss Distrust of this, but people of the more feminist bent at the time, I can remember having debates with people online, debates, like arguments online and even in public. People, they were just saying, you're only saying that because you're a bigot. And I kept saying, and I did, and other people kept saying, look, the logical conclusion of where this trans right activism is going is it's going to start pushing women out of women's spaces. That is, when you actually think about it, that is the conclusion. Because you're just going to end up with mentally ill men demanding to be led in women's spaces, and women are going to be uncomfortable with that. and then but these trans people are going to use the same tactics that radical feminists and gay people use to get their rights pushed forward in the past, and it'll work because it's worked for those two causes as well. Adding that the situation was ridiculous as the music industry is supposed to be built on freedom of expression. It absolutely is not. It never has been and it never will be. She made similar comments to the Leeds rally, but also told the crowd of onlookers, if men in dresses want to claim to be women, then women are always going to put up a fight to defend our hard-won rights. Of course we are, and so you should. Everything in my life starts with me being a woman, and a woman is an adult human female, 100% accurate. West Yorkshire Police were also at the centre of a row in August when officers arrested an autistic 16-year-old girl from Leeds after saying a female officer looked like a lesbian nana. Yeah, that was shocking. A lesbian nana, PC lesbian nana, also got caught on camera running into a crowd of upset people in Leeds and spraying them all with pepper spray. But in the UK, there has to be a reason for doing that. They can't just do it. And I believe it's classed similarly to discharging a firearm. With how serious they take it, so she could be in big poo-poo. I don't know, I've not looked into that story anymore, but that is a big no-no what she did. And the people that she sprayed, though, they weren't even fighting or anything. They weren't throwing anything around. They were being a bit loud, a bit boisterous. They were upset about something. I don't know what it was. Someone had upset these people. They looked like they were off a council estate. They may have been people who were on, I'm stereotyping a bit, but they look like the sort of people who are on benefits, and you wouldn't be surprised to see in a very run-down council estate. But they have a right to express themselves. If they're not happy, they have the right to express that. And they shouldn't be pepper sprayed simply for engaging in the legal rights. They weren't rioting at the end of the day. She was dragged away screaming in the early hours of the morning for a homophobic public order offence. Well, it's not a public order offence because it was in her home. So you can't be charged with a public order offence on private property because you're not in public. So that is just absolutely not accurate. That got thrown out, by the way. And she should have been sacked for that, for gross misconduct and bringing the police into disrepute. Police took no action against the teenager. They should sue the police for that as well. As an autistic person myself, I think that's absolutely shocking that they did that to her. Matt Bartlett, managing director of Midnight Mango, said today, "We have not fired Louise Distras. She asked us to find out if we could book shows for her with backstage security. We did the due diligence, but we're not able to make that stack up financially. Providing personal security was too expensive, and she doesn't sell a lot of tickets." Well, that's what it comes down to with the music industry. It's money. And that's what it always has been. It's what it always will be. It's never been about freedom of expression. They've just gone with whatever sells and whatever makes the money. And they will go that way. I spent a long time trying to help Louise, who said she was a victim of cancel culture. I even wrote to a policy on it to protect the legitimate views of everyone. I did this in direct response to her concerns. I fully respect the position that people have the right to hold gender-critical views, and that is literally enshrined in every contract we issue. Just as we respect people's right under the 2010 Equality Act to hold other viewpoints and not be discriminated against. Well, she wasn't discriminating against anybody. She was stating her opinion, and she's allowed to do her opinion, which is true. It's not even an opinion. She was stating biological fact. We have in place a robust policy for equity, diversity and inclusion, as well as a policy for cancel culture. It's frankly farcical to suggest that the music industry is cancelling Louise Distras. Well, they are, because they've taken all of her stuff offline, and I don't think she has a contract anymore. But the point is that I was getting with this is free speech is under attack. Now I'm not a free speech absolutist, because that is just stupid to be a free speech absolutist, but I am a free speech extremist. I do believe in the taking free speech as far as is feasibly possible for a functioning society. And I don't think feelings and fee-fees and things are a reason to, upset fee-fees are a reason to curtail other people's speech. Where I do draw the line is like incitement of violence, for example, like trying to rile a crowd up to attack somebody else. That is absolutely not free speech, and that is just incitement. Speech is about debate and exchanging ideas. Because a lot of people think free speech is just saying absolutely anything, and it's not. Free speech is exchanging ideas and generally interacting with people. But incitement isn't speech, that's incitement. It's a different thing. So, but obviously with what I like to talk about, with the sort of things I like to bring up on this channel, free speech for me is absolutely a core principle for that. Otherwise, I wouldn't. If I didn't believe in it, I wouldn't even say what I say. But because live as you believe, I suppose, is what I'm trying to say. Anyway, I'm going to leave it at that. I hope that's given you plenty to think about. Now, with this woman as well, I don't. As I say, I think there's a lot of her politics I absolutely would not agree with. I do think she's, from what I've seen, she's quite far to the left. I would probably disagree on 99% of things with her, but I 100% will stand shoulder to shoulder with her to protect her rights for free speech. To say those things, even if I do disagree with them. I hope she would reciprocate that too, and I hope with this happening, she would understand the importance of that. But anyway, we'll leave it at that. If you've enjoyed that or found it informative, please like, subscribe, put a comment below, and I'll speak to you all later. Bye bye.